The Devils and Mammoth look to keep streaking. Did we see a new low for the Rangers and the Sharks involved in another wild one? Details coming up on this edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hello, hockey fans. Welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of the night in the NHL during the regular season and the playoffs. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Eddie Garcia, an LA Kings fan on the West Coast. He is Alex Wiederspiel, a New York Rangers fan on the East Coast. And together we are here to tell you all about the goals, saves, big moments, and stories from the night in the NHL with a big assist from some of our local Locked On experts. And we begin, Alex, with a great matchup. One of the top teams in the West against, well, maybe the top team in the NHL right now, as the Devils were hosting the Avalanche.
8 wins in a row now for the New Jersey Devils. And certainly we've talked about the possibility that the Devils are becoming, if not already are, the best team in the Eastern Conference. It's hard not to now wonder, as you mentioned, are they the best team in the NHL? You know, when the season started, I mentioned this, that I kind of power ranked my 32 teams, and I didn't have a single Eastern Conference team in the top 5. Well, the Devils are making a really strong case not to just be in the top 5. They're making a strong case to be at the very top.
Yeah, this was a fun game for sure. Devils led 2-0. Avs came back to tie it up at 2. New Jersey gets 1 in the second. Colorado 1 in the third. And then in overtime, Jack Hughes scores his second of the game, gets the overtime game winner. 4-3 in overtime. Devils get the win, as you mentioned. 8 straight wins now for New Jersey. And for Jack Hughes, goals 7 and 8 on the season. And remember, New Jersey's doing this all without their number one goalie, Jacob Markstrom. He did dress as the backup in this one, so he should be returning to the crease soon. But Jake Allen doing a tremendous job, 5-0 in fill-in emergency duty, if you will. So it's everyone's contributing. Jack Hughes leading the way, as you would expect. He's phenomenal. And, you know, on a stage where he's there with Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar, some of the real elite players in the game, he obviously stood out and was able to get his team the victory in this one.
By and large, too, I really like and have liked under Sheldon Keefe in this, you know, it's funny to call it an era. It's only been a year and change now, but the Devils defend really, really well under Sheldon Keefe. And we know that's one of the most important things in the playoffs. So they can score, they can defend. They're not a perfect team yet. They certainly have, well, there's no perfect team, I guess, in the cap era, but they're not a finished product yet, because nobody's a finished product yet. But right now they look more finished than just about anybody else. And the other thing worth noting here is that from a Colorado perspective as well, like obviously this has not been a great stretch for them in terms of, they've probably left some points on the table, but they've only have 1 regulation loss. They've lost 4 now in the extra period. And in most years, eventually, that's mostly just a coin flip. And when you look at the talent Colorado has, I actually think it's a great strategy for them to accumulate points. Most of the time, if the Avalanche get to overtime, I think they're going to get that second point. Last couple games against Metro opponents, Carolina and New Jersey, they haven't been able to get the job done, though.
Nathan McKinnon did have a goal in this one of the easiest goals he'll ever score. It was sitting in the crease, and he just came in and whacked in. So he gets on the board. The Avs went with young goalie Trent Miner in this one as they were playing on back-to-back nights. He actually played pretty well, but still looking for his first career NHL win in just 2 career NHL starts. But the Devils are now 5-0 at home. They're now going to take this winning streak of 8 straight out on the road with them. And if you missed this game, their rematch is coming up in the Mile High City on Tuesday. So this one was kind of must-see hockey. It was the first game of the day, kind of away from all the other games, so you could focus on this one. But if you miss this one, like I said, they'll do it again on Tuesday in Denver, so that one will be fun as well. We'll see if the Devils can keep this going on the road.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against anything New Jersey's doing at the moment. The one thing that I'm still going to be paying attention to, you mentioned how good Jake Allen's been playing. This is a lot of work for Jake Allen in a really short span of time. He's typically more of your 1B number 2 guy. And so that would be the one concern I would have is we just saw Colorado kind of max out all they could get from Scott Wedgwood, right? Like he's played really well to start the season. Dude just looked totally gassed in the game against Carolina, or should I say Hartford. He looked totally gassed in that Heritage Night game, and ultimately was Trent Miner who came in to relieve him. And so I'm kind of wondering at this point, does Jake Allen still at this point in his career where he's more of an established 1B guy, does he still have the ability to go this deep? Now, Markstrom backing him up does indicate he's probably getting back pretty close to being able to take the reins, but I'm guessing they probably won't throw him to the Wolves right away. They'll probably do more of a split, especially with the way Allen's been playing. It's just something to keep an eye on as we get to this point of the season. Over-indexing a backup goalie can always be a little bit dangerous.
So New Jersey may be a bit of a surprise to be the top team in the NHL, if you believe that, but not as big of a surprise as the Utah Mammoth right now being the top team in the West. They won their 7th in a row with a 3-2 win in Winnipeg over last year's President's Trophy winners. Mammoth are tied with New Jersey for the most points, each with 16, although Utah has played one more game than the Devils, but still impressive for the Mammoth. Let's get a report on this one. We check in with our local expert, one of the co-hosts of Locked On Utah Mammoth. That is Robin Leano.
I want everyone to say this with me right now. 7 straight wins. Wow. I'm Robin Leano with Locked On Mammoth, and the Utah Mammoth are the hottest team in the NHL's Western Conference right now. With a 3-2 win over the Winnipeg Jets, this team has won 7 straight games. An absolutely amazing effort against one of the strongest defensive teams in the league. And let's just appreciate for a moment just how good the Young Guns line is. Logan Cooley, Dylan Guenther, JJ Peterka. It just seems as long as these guys stay together and stay hot, that this team may just keep on winning. For more on this win, on this Mammoth weekend, I should say, be sure to subscribe to the Locked On Mammoth podcast, available wherever you get your shows.
All right,
Eddie,
we appreciate that report. Yes?
Eddie, I am convinced the Utah Mammoth named themselves so people could just do that pun all the time. I'm convinced that's why the Mammoth picked that name. It has to be. Everyone loves it. It's a perfect pun.
It doesn't hurt for those who enjoy to do that kind of thing, but it was mentioned Dylan Guenther. He gets his 5th goal of the year, game-winning goal in the 3rd period. He has a flair for the dramatic. It seems like whenever he scores, it's a impactful goal. It's tying the game. It's a game winner. And yeah, there is some very good young talent there in Utah. They're finally starting to blossom. Logan Cooley as well was mentioned. Also, maybe bearing the lead though. Utah now 7-0 since they unveiled Tusky as their new mascot. So let's give Tusky its credit in all of this as well.
I think that's spot on. I think Tusky is the real MVP right now. And then the thing is too, I'm not sure this was Utah's best game, right? Like they got outchanced pretty significantly. If you look from the quality chance perspective, this was pretty even in just general. But from a quality chance perspective, Winnipeg kind of tilted the ice a little bit. But I will say the thing about Utah is when they have this much young talent, one of the things that you eventually learn how to do on good teams, we've seen the New York Rangers do this. We've seen the Winnipeg Jets do this. We've seen the Washington Capitals do this, is that you learn how to finish even on some of your off days where maybe your details aren't quite as detailed as you'd like them to be. And that's what we're starting to see from a guy. You mentioned Dylan Guenther. How about Logan Cooley, man? This guy, I think, is potentially trying to become the face of the league with the way he's been playing lately. Point streak continues on. I believe he's up to a 4-game point streak now, and he was ice cold to start the season, but he has been red hot since the natural hat trick.
So again, streaks intact right now for New Jersey at 8 straight, and now Utah at 7 straight. We'll see if those streaks how long they can last as we go into next week. Have we seen a new low for the New York Rangers. I know that Alex will have a comment or two on that. That's next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Well, the NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the season, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next point to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bet into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making a late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's get to our next group of games, and let us go to Tampa Bay, where the Lightning were hosting the Golden Knights, and Tampa Bay pulling out the 2-1 overtime victory. Nikita Kucherov gets the game winner in sudden death. Andrei Vasilevsky allowed just one goal on 19 shots. After losing 4 straight, Tampa Bay is now 1-2 in a row, hoping they are now back on track. And I mean, great coach, a lot of veteran talent. We just mentioned Kucherov and Vasilevsky, two of the backbone pieces of this team. It seems like there's just too much talent there for them not to turn this around, but they still have to do it again, 2 in a row after losing 4 straight. So we'll see if Tampa Bay is a bit back on track. We'll talk about the Golden Knights in a minute. They're banged up, but an important win for Tampa Bay against still a team, even though it's got some pieces missing, is very talented in Vegas.
I think Tampa Bay fans and maybe even Tampa Bay players would have revolted if they hadn't gotten this one tonight. This was an odd one for Tampa because I think they have, listen, like this is not an issue where if you look at their record, like, well, they're playing better than the kind of indicator. I think there are legitimate concerns in Tampa right now, particularly with the way that they're defending. And look at what they did. They played a much lower event game in this one, only allowed 7 high danger chances the entirety of this game and all situations, and they ultimately get the win. Vegas only had 9 shots midway through the third period. This was a great defensive performance from a Tampa team that had not defended well this season. If they are going to get back in the race, and I don't know if we'll have time to get to this later, but there's something worth noting. If they're going to get back into the race, and I know it's weird to say that, October 27th, they need to defend better. Otherwise, they are not going to go anywhere this season. So that's an encouraging sign for Tampa. I know I harp on defending a lot, but you look at it year in and year out. One of the things you absolutely cannot do is you cannot be near the bottom of the league and giving up high danger chances. In years past, that's where the Rangers were last year. That's where the Anaheim Ducks were last year. That's where the Chicago Blackhawks were last year. What do those teams have in common? They were bottom 10, bottom 11, bottom 12 in the standings. Tampa had to defend better. Tonight was a big first step against a very good Knights team.
Let's get a check-in from our local expert, one of the co-hosts of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. That is Chris Golick.
Where has the offense gone? What's up, everybody? Chris Golick, Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. Golden Knights have to settle for 1 point in the first 2 games of the road trip, just 1 point in Florida. On the positive, Carl Lindbaum, outstanding in his NHL debut. On the negative, just 1 goal in the entire state of Florida on the road trip. Hopefully, better times are ahead for this injury-ridden Vegas Golden Knights team. Check out the Locked On Vegas Golden Knights podcast on YouTube and anywhere you catch your podcast. Your team every day.
All right, thanks to Chris for that. Yes, Carl Lindbaum, NHL debut for Vegas in net. 2 goals allowed on 28 shots. They're waiting for Carter Hart, who they signed. He can't play until December. Aiden Hill is out, and Akira Schmid has been a little bit shaky. So Carl Lindbaum gets his chance. Not too bad. Not, as Chris said, not a bad NHL debut, but did not get enough offense. And yes, Mark Stone is out. He's on LTIR. Noah Hannafin is out as well. But there's still enough talent there for Vegas with Marner and Eichel and Hurdle and Dorofeev for them to get more than 1 goal in the game.
Yeah, and what's funny is I'm not even sure this is the type of game where against a much slower Tampa Bay defense, I'm not even sure Mark Stone's like that huge of a help offensively in a game like this where that's essentially strength on strength, right? Like Mark Stone is big and powerful down low, and he's going to be going up against other big, powerful Tampa Bay defensemen who maybe don't aren't as fleet of foot. So that's the thing about this. You look at some of the players like Eichel and Marner not being able to take advantage of a Tampa defense that's been victimized. Again, I think you got to give some kudos to Tampa for changing some things up and locking it down. It's not a great sign for Vegas, but it's also only one game. I think, if I'm being honest, I think it says more about what Tampa needed to do as a unit than it does about Vegas. Maybe just came in sleepwalking into this one.
Let's check in on the Stars at the Predators. Been a little bit of a weird season for Dallas. Obviously, high expectations. They win 3, then lose 4. Fell behind 2-0 in Music City, but they would score the next 3 to post a 3-2 win, and Mikko Rantanen gets the game winner. Let's check in with our local expert, the host of Locked On Dallas Stars. That's Joey Erickson.
The Dallas Stars hang on in the Music City for a 3-2 victory over the Nashville Predators to sweep the back-to-back over the weekend. And right now, this is how the Stars have to win games in their current makeup. With all the injuries, no Rope Hintz, no Matt Duchene, no Niels Lundqvist. It is not going to be easy. The Stars have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and they need superb net mining. Casey DeSmith was electric tonight. He held the Stars in until Dallas got their legs in the second period. Really, from about the 10-minute mark of the second period, the Stars started to lean on Nashville, and then they scored 3 unanswered to squeak out with a 3-2 victory over the Predators. Mikko Rantanen with a power play goal. Stars win the special teams battle. That is also a part of the recipe that the Stars have figured out over the last couple of games. We'll see if they can continue that.
All right, thanks to Joey Erickson for that report. Casey DeSmith, 2 goals allowed on 25 shots. Maybe just taking a little bit of time to figure things out under new, old head coach Glenn Gulletson, who's got his second stint there behind the bench. So we'll see where where Dallas goes. But it has been a little bit of an interesting start for them on this season.
Yeah, I thought Dallas was going to be competing with the likes of Colorado, Carolina for potentially winning the President's Trophy this season. They brought back essentially the whole group. There's outside of obviously what happened and what changed on the bench. There's really not a better playoff team from last year that carries over more year-to-year consistency, and it's been a kind of a weird one for Dallas. Kudos, though, to the Stars. I thought they were much better after a sleepy first period. They outchanced Dallas pretty significantly, 16-11 per natural stat trick at 5-on-5. So pretty good, 23-15 overall in periods 2 and 3, I should say. That was pretty good. And I actually thought Justice Annunen for Nashville was pretty sharp, all things considered. He didn't face as many shots, but he faced a lot of high-quality shots in this one.
And we had the Rangers at the Flames, and the formula
Do we
for
have
your
to?
Rangers, yes, we do. The formula for your Rangers has been not good at home, but good on the road. And they're taking on the worst team in the league. So you thought that would continue, but that wasn't the case. The Flames snap an 8-game losing skid with a pretty convincing 5-1 win over the Rangers. That's New York's first regulation road loss of the season. Let's check in with, I'm sure, a bit of a salty host of Locked On New York Rangers, and that is John Chick.
Rangers just lost to the Flames, and where are the star players? They're just nowhere to be found right now. And anytime that you do notice them, it's for all the wrong reasons. Whether it's JT Miller and Mika Zibanejad both being unable to even put the puck on net on breakaways. Whether it's both of those players taking an unnecessary offensive zone penalty in this game. Or Alexis Lafreniere, him basically being faked out of his skates by Nazem Kadri in the neutral zone. And then a couple of seconds later, screening his own goalie, Igor Shesterkin, and at least partially being responsible for that goal being scored. When you have a Ranger team, or really any team, and you're as top-heavy as this Ranger team happens to be, and you really need to count on your star players, getting the kind of performances that the Rangers are getting from their stars is just not a recipe for success. It's not going to cut it. And obviously, it didn't cut it tonight. Going to be breaking it down in the next episode of Locked On New York Rangers. Do not miss it.
All right, thanks to John Chick for that report. Real quick on the Flames, Blake Coleman had a pair of goals in the third period to help put this one away. One of them shorthanded, and Dustin Wolf allowed 1 goal on 31 shots. But the story here is the Rangers, who have now lost 6 of 7 I saw you nodding your head at what John had to say. I'll let you get the final say on this one as a Rangers fan.
I'll just say I thought Dustin Wolf was really good tonight. There were a couple of saves. He made one on Lafreniere that I don't understand. The puck doesn't go in the net. Wolf was basically facing the wrong way, and it's a desperation bailout save. It is unbelievable if you haven't seen it yet. So kudos to Dustin Wolf. He has not had a very strong season to start, but he has been getting better seemingly each and every game. The problem for the Rangers is how many times before you start wondering if something is wrong where you go, oh man, the other team's goalie was the best player tonight. You would think in a certain respect that is a compliment, but it keeps happening and you start to beg the question, what's going on with the Rangers? There's a lot that I could get into. We don't have time for all of it. The one thing I will say, thought their bottom defensive pair was really bad tonight. Braden Schneider, Carson Soucy got victimized for 3 goals, but 2 of them in particular were stuff of nightmares. I believe both of the first 2 goals were in the first period, the first 2 Flames goals. Rangers, they're not starting on time, and then they have been victimized late in periods. The only positive they can take from this is that I think the combination of Will Cooley and Noah Leba might actually give them a functioning third line, which they have not had all season. Rough one for the Rangers.
And is it Leba or Laba?
Laba. It's Laba.
Laba.
Yeah, it's Laba. I can't help but say it how it looks in my head, but it's Laba.
He got his first NHL goal in this one. So I kept thinking they were saying lava. This guy is lava. No, it's lava.
Yeah.
We had another eventful game involving the San Jose Sharks. Don't know if they're a good team, but they are an exciting team to watch. We'll get into that next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Obviously, hockey season is officially here. There's nothing better than going out to the arena for a game, but let's get real. Getting tickets can be a headache sometimes between waiting in queues, surprising fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Gametime comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that you can see exactly what you're going to pay for. There's no hidden fees at checkout, and you can also see exactly what your view is going to be when you buy the tickets, thanks to their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, they pick the seats, and you save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right, our final group of games. Let's start with the Sharks playing at the Wild, and we talked about puns earlier. Another wild one for San Jose. They got that 6-5 overtime win against the Rangers earlier in the week to get their first win of the year, and their second win of the year is a 6-5 overtime game. Macklin Celebrini with the overtime game winner, his 6th of the season. Let's check in with one of our local experts, the host of Locked On San Jose Sharks. That's JD Young.
Macklin Celebrini saves the day once again as the San Jose Sharks win 6-5 in overtime versus the Minnesota Wild. I'm JD Young of Locked On Sharks, and it looked like doom again for the Sharks as they gave up a 2-goal lead in the third period. They spent about 4 minutes pinned into their own zone to start overtime, but Celebrini gets on the ice, steals the puck, and scores to notch the Sharks' second win of the season. Celebrini had a 3-point night tonight. William Eklund also 3 points with 2 goals and assists. And Celebrini continuing to grow in front of our eyes and become the next great NHL superstar with a performance like we saw tonight. The Sharks, they played well in this game, but as we've seen, they just can't hold leads in the third period. But Celebrini put on his Superman cape, and the Sharks were able to escape Minnesota with a win. We'll break down this game on your next episode of Locked On Sharks, wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, you can watch on YouTube as well.
All right, thanks to JD Young for that. Yes, the overtime period was pretty much dominated by Minnesota, but it only took one chance for Macklin Celebrini. I think he was the only Shark that actually changed in overtime that came over the boards, and I guess that little extra bit of juice maybe helped him to get that goal. But the Sharks' talent is there. There's a long way for them to all, eventually learn how to win games, and the defense needs to improve. But again, the talent is there, and Macklin Celebrini is certainly a fun player to watch.
I mean, it's actually pretty nice to be a Sharks fan right now. There's no reason to have any expectations. And what you can basically do is sit back the way Canadian fans, granted, larger market, and they probably were a little antsier. But the last couple seasons for Canadians fans, all they had to do was enjoy every time Cole Caulfield or Nick Suzuki or Yura Slavkovsky and now Lane Hudson, anytime they do something cool, they didn't have to worry about the wins and losses. A little bit different expectations in Montreal this season, but San Jose, that's where you are right now. Just enjoy the cool stuff when it happens, because it's awesome watching Macklin Celebrini blossom and develop into, he's right, 100% right, looking like he's going to be the next big superstar in this league.
And a tough one for Minnesota again. You dominate the overtime. You have possession almost the entire time. And then the one time you allow them to shoot, they shoot and score. And it's they got a point out of it, but felt like you should have got two in that situation.
Yeah, how about this for the Minnesota Wild? They outchanced, and this is good. This is what's going to happen. Some nights this is just how it goes down. But if you're Minnesota, you hate not getting the extra point in this one. So Minnesota in the third period outchances San Jose 18-5. Out attempts them 37-11. Outshoots them 17-5. And still can't walk away with the win. They outscored them in the third 3-1, but that's not enough. And if you go to overtime against a team as skilled as San Jose, they can be one-shot winners.
The Oilers were in Vancouver to take on the Canucks. Vancouver looking to hold on to a win in this one, but Leon Draisaitl would score on a power play late, his second goal of the game. He's got 7 on the season. We go to overtime, and Vancouver pulls out the 4-3 victory thanks to Kiefer Sherwood, who had a pair of goals as well. Numbers 5 and 6 for him. Could have had a hat trick, but he had a goal wiped away on an offsides. The Oilers are still scuffling a bit, although they pull out a win on this one. Let's get a report from one of our local hosts, Locked On Edmonton Oilers, and that is Nick Zararis.
Moral victories. Nick Zararis of Locked On Oilers here after a 4-3 defeat at the hands of the Vancouver Canucks. The Oilers picking up a singular point over the weekend on a back-to-back on a weekend where the same problems continue to rear their ugly head. The Oilers at this point are entirely beholden to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl making special plays. Tonight, Draisaitl picked up a pair of goals in his 800th career game. He did his job. Connor had a couple good looks, and the Oilers deserve some credit for mounting the comeback to force overtime overall, but something just ain't right here, man. We're a month into the season, and it is an absolute struggle for the Oilers to get to 3 goals in regulation. And this is a team that has as deep a forward group as possible. But right now, it doesn't seem like, in spite of all that depth, the depth fits particularly well together.
All right. Thanks to Nick Zararis for that report on the Edmonton Oilers. No Quinn Hughes, by the way, for Vancouver. He's day-to-day with a lower body injury, but they are able to get a win against the team they haven't had a lot of success against recently. So a nice win for Vancouver. They're still trying to figure things out as well.
Yeah, I didn't think Calvin Pickard was particularly good in this one either. Listen, that's a tough one to give up at the end in overtime, but a distance goal, you always hate to see that. And listen, I think Edmonton's playing a little bit better than Nick is saying, but I think they always, as you put it, scuffle a bit to open the season. And if you combine that with their goaltending situation, that's a concern.
And our final game involved my Kings playing in Chicago against the Blackhawks. We'll check in with the local expert, and that's me. The Kings started off slow in this one, fell behind 1-0 as Connor Bedard gets his 3rd of the season. And this one looked like it might not be the Kings' night, but they actually turned things around in the second period and in the third period, got back to playing Kings hockey. Very sound team defense, really limited the scoring chances for Chicago, and they just controlled the tempo of the game after that first period. Kevin Fiala, who can be a maddening player sometimes, but when he does some special things, you remember why you like him on your team, had a breakaway that he didn't get the shot off on, so he does the wraparound goal and puts it in the net for the game winner. Backup goalie Anton Forsberg was solid, 1 goal on 23 shots. And depending on your rooting interest in this one, if you're a Kings fan, great penalty killing. If you're a Blackhawks fan, terrible power play. But Chicago 0 for 5 with the man advantage in this one. And the Kings playing those low-scoring games, it's kind of their happy place. They're now 3-0-1 on this current 5-game road trip. They've played 6 games this year, Alex, that have gone beyond regulation. So that tells you a little bit of how they play close games down the stretch. This one, they did get an empty net goal to make it a little bit more convincing in the 3-1 victory, but it was still tight throughout. But it was nice to see my Kings, after that slow start, kind of turn things around and get control of this one.
By the way, and this gives such vibes of like the early 2010s Western Conference Finals that we saw between these two. But let me just say real quick before we go that Chicago, kudos to the Blackhawks for playing a little bit more of a low event game. Here's a funny stat that I did not realize. I was on Natural Stat Trick doing research for an article last week. And do you know what team in the NHL for the last 4 years has been 32 out of 32 in high danger chances? 4 actually in this case, in terms of generating chances. It's been the Chicago Blackhawks, 32nd out of 32 in generating high danger chances for the last 4 seasons. They're off to a much better start this year. They didn't do as much tonight. They're going to have to learn how to do it against a stout defensive team like the Kings.
All right, and that is going to do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. If you want complete coverage of your favorite NHL team, there is a Locked On NHL Team podcast and YouTube show for 31 of the 32 games we are working on Calgary. Don't worry, we'll get one soon. But everybody else is covered, so you need to check out your favorite NHL Locked On show. And of course, Locked On NHL Game Night is here for you every night in the regular season and playoffs, wrapping up the night in the NHL. If you like this, what you've seen here, what you've heard here, like, subscribe, and you can comment as well if you're watching on YouTube about what happened tonight in the NHL. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. For Alex Wiederspiel, I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day.